check on my mic. It was working. So, guys, hi. This is my third live stream this year. So I thought I'm going to just hop on to the most asked question, which is how I end up in Sweden, being a Singaporean. So this question has been popping up all the time, and in fact, I did answer. I even make a video on that, but that video was really short. So if you guys want to go back to that video, I'm going to put the link in the video description so you can watch that video too. So if you're new here, my name is Esti. I am a Singaporean living in Sweden. I've been living here for almost 26 years now. Hi. So it's 26 years seems like very long time, right? I am 57 years old. I moved here when I was around 30. How I ended up here is not actually a very dramatic story. Maybe on the part where why I suddenly moved from Singapore to Sweden. The story started in 1996. I'm not going to drag this story very long. I'm going to just cut it as short as possible so you guys have a picture. I was working as a real estate when I met my ex-husband, and we found each other through a friend at a pub. So it was a time where I didn't want it to be committed because I wasn't planned to move abroad or have a boyfriend. Even though my mom was nagging at me, oh, you're 30 soon. You know, in Singapore, when you don't get married early, uh, it means that you are unwanted one. So my mom was a bit worried, but I wasn't like feeling like I must or I have to, because I just felt like I haven't met the right person. But it was, how do I say, it's not really fated. It's like, you know, when you meet a person and you wasn't prepared, and we started as a friend from the beginning. We have been in contact like a few months or almost a year before I decided to move to Sweden, just to take a look. Didn't really move, just to come here and take a look how it is like in Skellefteå. My ex-husband is from this city called Skellefteå, which is located up in the north of Sweden. So I came here during the summer and I really like it, but I wasn't planning to stay here. And then we got back because he got a new job in Singapore. I think that time he was working engineer, and the place is very long. It's like Jurong, and then I was staying in the east. So for him to travel is like 1 hour, and he was a bit tired because he's used to having a car. So after staying, like cohabitating with him for almost a year, and we decided to tie knot. So we actually have two weddings. One wedding is in Singapore and the other wedding is in Sweden. So we decided to get married first before we planned, because time was like catching up. You know, the clock is ticking. So at 29, I got pregnant. And I told my husband, I said, you know, I'm not going to. Even though I like Sweden, but I don't want to move there because I felt like, you know, it's away from home, and I think I probably have to. I wasn't prepared to lose everything just to move to another country. So he worked in Singapore for almost 2 years, and we were staying in Singapore. We were planning to maybe buy a HDB flat or settle down somehow. That time it was quite difficult because foreigner, you know, if you are a Singaporean, husband and a foreigner husband, it can be quite difficult to get a HDB. So the only alternative is to buy a private house, and which was really, really expensive. A condominium can cost easily, during that time it's about 700,000, which is very expensive. So we plan to have a kid. So we planned our pregnancy, and I got pregnant. And that time I was working with this event company that they do all kinds of international concert, all the international artists from USA. So I really liked that job, and the boss was treating me well, and I wasn't thinking about um, like planning to move in the future, because I was really happy, and I was planning to maybe save money up and then buy a condo somehow and then move to a condominium in a private property. Uh, and then something happened. I was really bad shape when I was pregnant. I couldn't drink water even. I was like, oh my God, it was like throwing up like 10, 15 times a day. Everything I put in my mouth, it just come out directly, even water. So my gynae was a bit worried for me, and he told me, he said, is your husband sweet? I said, yeah. He said, maybe this environment, because Singapore was very polluted by the Indonesian forest burning, right? All the smoke came to Singapore. And I was having a lot of problem. I couldn't breathe. I have time. I have difficulties walking, because that time I also have asthma. So my gynae told me, he said, maybe it's not a bad idea. Just go to Sweden for just a month and see what happened. So I was like very sick. I never eat anything. People when they're pregnant, they put on weight. For me, I'm pregnant, I lose weight. I was like African kids, very skinny with a big tummy. So I was very bad. I went to hospital in Singapore for some water dripping, because I wasn't eating anything. The doctor was saying, you can't, because your kids love to have. Let's see what they say. What is like to be an Asian? Okay, I'll answer that question later. Um, so it's like, you know, very difficult. I felt like, okay, I'm going to give this a try, because I don't want my child to die in the stomach. I really much want to save our pregnancy. So took a flight. It was in the middle of winter. Can you imagine? I never seen winter before. And I was just wearing a pregnant dress, very loose and very thin. And then I just wore a sandals and nothing else, just a haversack. That's all I brought with me. So when the plane fly over Sweden and approaching the place where my ex-husband is living, I was looking at. I said, it's all white. Where on earth can you see the airport? Yeah, the airport is right in front. And I look at that. It's like a small storehouse, warehouse. And I said, is that the airport? Yeah, that's the airport. Oh my God, what did I got myself into, right? So uh, I remember the day when I landed, it was like the coldest time, the coldest day of the year. And I remember it was around minus 30 degrees. Can you imagine coming from a place which is plus 30 degrees and to a place that is minus 30 degrees? That is a very big contrast. So when I landed, my father-in-law, he was very kind. I love him like crazy. He, he brought me this, because he doesn't know, they doesn't know my size. So they have this. He worked actually like partial like a farmer. So he has this farmer overall. He said, "Wear this one. This is warm," and really it was warm. But he's much taller than me. So when I put on that overall, I was like, look like a crown. But it was warm. So I put on his boots and I put on his hat. He has this really thick wool hat. And he said, put on the gloves too, otherwise your hand will crack, you know. So true enough, when I get out of the airport, I was shocked, you know, because I've never seen this much snow. It was like almost a half a meter tall, all the snow. And they told me they already cleared the snow on the road. So they were driving this really old Volvo, orange color, I remember. So they was driving, and then the car was like sweeping, you know, because of the snow. We couldn't see, you know, like 20 meters ahead of us. So it was like, you know, how can it drive? You know, you don't see the road. You only see this thing, white thing keep coming to you. And I tell you, I was so cold and I was like freezing in the car, even though they already on the heater to the max. So I told myself, I said, I think, you know, I will not last for a week for sure, or maybe a few days. You know, but the thing is that very strange with Sweden is that when I came, uh, I suddenly felt like I was a different person. I felt like I was in another planet, and all my vomiting and my, you know, I feel giddy all the time. I don't feel giddy. I don't feel like I want to vomit, and I could eat again really on day one, and that was like, to me, it's like a miracle. So I'm just going to watch. So, it must be going from sun. Yeah, it is from sunshine to cold. So the minute when I arrive, I mean, all of them is like European. I mean, Swedish, Scandinavian people. They're all very white and very, how to say, very blonde, right? I find that they are really beautiful. And the family is one of the nicest family I've ever seen. They are so sweet. They treat me really well. And I fall in love with Sweden right away because I felt that the warmth, even though I was really far away. On the first day, I told myself, maybe I need to just give some patience and then live for 1 week and see what happens. But I was really planning to maybe leave after giving birth or maybe when I feel better. So we live in a house. We rented a house next to his grandmother's house. So it was a really small, old, cozy house. Nobody lived there. And I think the rental was like ridiculously cheap. I think it was like 600 Singapore dollars for a whole house with a big, big land in front and the back with a forest. So to me, it's like, wow, you know, overwhelming because I never, in Singapore, we live in flats. We never have this kind of space, yeah. And I felt really settled down because I felt home because I never felt home when I was in Singapore, even though I was living with my mom and my brothers in a flat. And, you know, for me, it's a really big thing. And I said, maybe this is how my life is supposed to lead, and staying in a foreign place and learn how to be independent and taking care of myself, because I know that Swedish people already, that they are like, everything is 50-50s, right? And they, fortunately, my ex-husband, he's a very sweet type. He like to do everything for me. He even tied my shoelace because my stomach was very big. I couldn't tie my shoelace. So he always helped me to tie shoelace. Um, I was really, really happy the first 6 months when we were staying in this countryside, even though it was really cold outside. I dare not even go out because it was really cold. I'm not used to it. Even at home, you know, we keep all the elements on, and it was still really cold for us because being an Asian, we are not used to this kind of cold. I mean, even though if you ask my brothers and sisters to come to Singapore, to Sweden now in the summer, they still feel cold, you know, even like 15, 25 degrees, they will start to wear like winter clothes. So for me, it's like, it was a really drastic lifestyle change. I stay at home. I never used to stay at home, and I felt I have to stay at home. And I felt like, you know, something grow out of myself. And because my ex-husband, he has to study in another city, which is about 150 kilometers away, and he decided to just stay there for like from Monday to Thursday, and then come back on Friday, Saturday, and then he go back to his university on Sunday evening. So most of the time I'm alone, and and I felt like, being pregnant and being alone is quite scary, and especially when you hear sound from around the house, like moose moving around, animals hopping like those rabbits. It's really fascinating. It's like a fairy tale, like, just imagine this small girl pregnant in this house surrounded by snow, so dark, and only that light house is lighted. And I can tell you, it's so beautiful, that setting. The romantic part is not so much because he's been away all the time. So we didn't really talk a lot, because most of the time when we get together, because when we get together, my baby was already pop out, in April. So most of the time I just put focus on taking care of my baby. As a new mother, everything has to be perfect, right? We want to make sure that the child is safe, it's not freezing, and the way the Swedish people take care of the baby is really different from the way the Singaporean take care of the baby. We are overprotective, but in Sweden, no, no, no. Just put the baby outside, in the trolley, cover them with blanket, and then just push them outside the house and let them sleep. They sleep better there. I was telling myself, my God, it's like minus 15, 20 degrees, and you ask me to put my baby outside? No way. Especially when there's animals around. No, no, no. My mother-in-law, she's the type. "Oh, don't worry, I'm sure it will be safe. You try and see what happens." So I did try it for a few nights, and not a few nights, in the daytime. So I put her outside just because she was crying and she was having colics. So they said that if you put her outside with fresh air, she will feel much better and she'll sleep longer. So I was really worried. I was sitting beside. I took a chair and then I sat beside the window and was looking at the cradle, the trolley all the time. So scared that any animal might come and eat her up. So I was like having this very dramatic conflict in the way of them, like taking care of kids. And I find that in Singapore way is like overprotective. Here is like not so protective. They don't care. Not that they don't care. It's like they try to give the children the opportunity for to train them to be independent. And that's why children here at around 18, they move out, which is really good, because a lot of Singaporean, they will say, no, 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 you cannot ask the children to move out because they are still kids. But I find that it is really good, because then only they will learn how to start a life on their own. And the most important is being a culture, Asian tradition. We are close to our children. We have that kind of bond, that no matter when our children grow up and move out, we still want to keep in touch as much as possible. So, cut the story a bit shorter. I was really happy, and then we have to move because my husband, my ex-husband, he couldn't bear with the traveling because it was expensive, and then it was like too far away. Yeah, right. You agree, right? So it's very important to have our kids very train them to be independent. So we moved to his uh, university, which is called Umeo, which is about 150 kilometers. So we moved there. We stay in a flat, and I was having problem because I want to get a job, because it was very difficult to get a job. When you arrive in Sweden during that time, the government encourage you to join the Swedish class, which is free of charge. And I think that time they also pay me to go to school, which is, I find it's a bit strange. Why should you pay me, because I don't feel like I need that money. uh, and and then my husband say, oh, just take it, because this is all the benefits that you can get being a Swede, because I wasn't prepared to be a Swede yet, because I still want to keep my Singapore citizenship, because I find that it's still me. I want to keep my root, and since I have the same rights as a normal Swede, why should I do that? And Singapore, we are not allowed to have dual citizenship. So I'm still keeping my Singapore citizenship and still continue to stay, because I just felt like I have a strange connection with this country, even though I don't speak so good Swedish, but I understand. I prefer I prefer to stay here because I want to learn about this country, about the language, about the new culture. It's like a new adventure, a new chapter of my life. And I tell myself, I have nothing to lose, because I mean, if I have a career in Singapore, I probably, do the old same stuff, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, maybe go shopping, or maybe go eating with my friend in restaurant. But here I get the chance to be independent, to learn how to maintain a house, decorate a house, how to cook, and also how to socialize with Swedish people and learn a new lifestyle, whether good or not. You know, you should know. Otherwise, I would have left already. So when we were living in Umeå, my husband, she completed his study, and then he worked for a company that helped the farmer to get the, we call the bidrag. So he wasn't really happy with that job, because he find a lot of traveling too. He doesn't like to travel so much. So we were having some problem, because I felt like I was being left alone, and he was tired all the time. We couldn't communicate that much. So I felt like I have to do something. So I started a company. It's called Scrapbook Life Story. It's an internet online shop that sell craft for making scrapbooking. So I run that company for 4.5 years as a sole proprietor. Um, Business was good, but I was still unhappy, because I felt like I was neglecting my baby, because during that time I felt like I'm a bad mother. I don't want to like work all around the clock. I was like a workaholic. I can wake up in the middle of the night, and pack orders. So life was a bit chaos during that time, and I wasn't ready to just give up. But I gave up because I felt like my daughter is more important than anything. So I searched for a job, and I worked in a restaurant, in a Chinese restaurant in Umeå. I didn't like it there, because being a Singaporean, we are very particular about hygiene, right? The restaurant, they don't know how to prepare their food hygienely, and I felt so bad. Every time when I work there, I look at the way they cook, and I told the boss, I said, you shouldn't put the chicken on the ground to defrost like one whole day until the chicken turn white, right? And the boss was really angry with me. He said, oh, if you don't like to work here, you can quit. So I was a bit pissed. So I told him, this is not the way you treat your customer, because your customer pay you good money and expect something back that, that won't kill them. So I felt like I was working against my integrity when I was working there. So I told him one day, I said, fine, I'm going to quit. I don't think I want to work with people without integrity. So yeah, for about 5 6 months, I was jobless at home, and then I start to learn a new skill on the internet, and that's how we progress. And then my daughter start to go to school, And my ex-husband said, oh, maybe Umeå is not the place for you or for us. Maybe we move back to Skellefteå. And we were having a lot of communication problem because I was I felt very lonely all the time because he was unable to communicate. I cannot blame him too because I felt like I I was like blaming him for bringing me here. But initially, I was to be blamed myself because if I were to say, okay, let's pack the bag and we go back to Singapore, that's another thing. But because I chose to stay here and I have to face the consequences myself because I was the one who doesn't want to leave Sweden. So we decided to stay, and then our marriage was like going on a separate way. We tried counseling, we tried talk to people, family. We even talked to the priest. Ah, it was a long process. Didn't work because I still don't get him to talk to me, and I don't understand why. I keep blaming myself. Is it my fault all the time? And I was feeling really lonely and desperate, miserable. So I wasn't in a good position to talk to my family also because they also blame me. Yeah, that's true. And I couldn't talk to my family because my family, they didn't really approve me moving to Sweden, and I have nobody to talk to. And just imagine you have a country, you only maybe talk to a few parents at the childcare center just a few seconds, and then you go back to this apartment and you're all alone whole day. And if you have no job, it's a really depressing, oh, dark time for me. So I was really depressed. I started drinking, and I started, you know very destructive, and I don't know what to do with my life. So we decided to separate and you know move. I mean, not separate. We decided to move back to his homeland, his hometown. I mean, just to try it out. And then we bought this little tiny brick house, quite near the place that I stay now. Uh, and then things just go around down, down all the way. And I don't know, he was unhappy, and I was unhappy. And I said, why should we be together if we are unhappy and if we are unable to communicate, right? Because communication for me is very important. If I cannot communicate, I can't live with you. But now when we grow older, oh, the better is don't communicate. I told LG, I said, maybe now when we have this gig, it's not a bad idea to keep my life separate from him. When you grow older, you feel like, you reach another phase. And if you guys want to know why I feel that way, I can talk about that later. But right now, I'm going to stick to our topic. And then we got divorced. And then immediately after we divorced, I didn't have any money. I was like 2,000 crown left after I paid my bills for the rental of my apartment. And I have to find a way to support myself. And I didn't have so much money left because I spent almost all of my saving going back to Singapore to visit my family. And because my mom had cancer, so I tried to go back like every year, and it was really expensive. And my ex-husband, he couldn't afford that, so sometimes I have to pay his air ticket. uh, so it was a really, really hard time for me during that time. So when I moved to apartment, I found an apartment which was really, really cheap. I think it was like 13,000 Swedish crown, which is about uh, 2,000 Sing dollars. So I took over the flat. It's like a takeover fee, but after that you still have to pay rental. So I was really lucky because the place that I stay, I know a lady who is just across the street, and she knew that I was divorced, and she called me one day, STG, you're alone, right? You are separated, right? Do you need a job? I can help you. So I said, oh, really? What kind of job? Just come to my workplace. I'll introduce you to my boss. So it's a elderly kind of house. What do you call that? We call that ham chance. It means taking care of elderly people who stay in their own home. So our duty is just to go there to help them with food, with a shower, with medicines, and sometimes cleaning. So I was really happy with the job because I really like helping people. So I was woo, you know. But then I find that there's a really really strange way of working there because we were very extremely stressful, and during that time was considered stressful. Now it's like 5 times more stressful. So I was so lucky that I could quit that job because I felt sorry too because I really enjoy that job and I like helping people. And you know, I'm very short. I'm only 1.52. And the people that I took care is like almost 2 meters tall. So sometimes we have to lift, you know, a lot of lifting. And some of the household, the government provide them with equipment, but some they don't have the equipment. For a small person to take care of person who is double, you know, at least 1/4 higher than me, it's like, oh, it was hard, it was tough. And sometimes we work alone. So one day when I was leaving this guy who was about 1.9, I felt there's something strange with my back, you know, because we didn't go for this kind of course whereby, you know, they teach you how to lift up a patient or, you know, how to do that. Only after about 6 months working there, then they sent me to this course. But, you know, I already felt something wrong with my back. And every time when I go to lift up an elderly person, wow, my back is like shouting, don't do that, you know. It was so tough, and I felt like my body was like giving up, and I don't know why. Every time, even though I go up the stairs, you know, I felt so pain. So I went to the chiropractic and went to the the hospital. One time I couldn't take it, and they say that, oh, there's nothing wrong, you're still young, you can train, you go to the gym and try to lift and train up your muscle. That's what they tell you. And then, you know, I after so many visits I gave up. I said, okay, maybe I'll do some training and, you know, exercise, maybe I'll feel better. So, and then during this kind of job, you know, I was again both happy and not happy. Not happy is because I don't like the way they schedule all the job, you know, and the worker are very stressed out. And the group that I work with, only the girl who recommended me the job she was really sweet to me. But our team was not a good team because everybody is like sabotaging each other. You know, I don't know why they do that. Is it like a typical uh, conflict in this kind of work? You know, they always bully those that are newcomer. So I felt bullied in a way because I always get the most difficult one, and they don't give a damn about me, and they always say, "Oh, you can work alone." And I said, this job is supposed to be 2%, and then I have to work alone. And sometimes, most of the time, I have to work like OT, overtime. And the pay was not really good either. And I felt like my body is like giving up on me. And I felt pain, even though I was lying and resting, I still feel the pain. And the doctor can't do nothing about me and say, you're still young, you can train and work and try, you know, to figure this out yourself. And they never even send me for x-ray, even though I told them, you know, I have this really really painful neck, and really even up to today I still have this painful neck. And you know, every night I still have to sleep in a special position so that I don't feel the pressure on my spine. So I never give up. I tried to another job, and they sent me to this like psychiatrist, and all those people with mental problem. Uh, Most of the problem with mental problem, they were either drinking or they are drug addict. So I have to work with another girl, and then we travel by the car, and then we go to all those alcoholic people house, help them clean house, and then help them to, come back to this normal lifestyle, and try to encourage them not to drink too much. So this is also a very good job, but I didn't get to work there for a long time. I wish I could work there for a long time, but again, I was feeling a lot of pain because sometimes you really have to have luck, because that time when we had a lot of very heavy patient, and I told myself, I said I have to pull myself through this, because I really want to earn a, a like a job, and then maybe get a career. And I tell you, 4.5 years there, I worked like crazy, and I haven't get employed by them. No employment. They never offer me like we call that fast chance, means you are employed. And I was really disappointed. And people who are just new, newer than me, they get employed right away, but not for me. So I told myself, why should I sacrifice my health, for this unfair treatment? So I said, I'm not going to continue. So I quit. So life is like up and down, up and down. But during that time, I was like happy helping people, and then for that, I paid a price. Then that is the downfall. And all the time, I have my, I try to have pride on the way I don't tell my family, because I don't want them to feel sorry for me, or let them worry for me, because I felt like it's not fair, because it was my choice, and I don't think so they can do anything to help me, and I don't want them to help me too. So life goes on. Met Andrea. Andrea was uh, a bit how do you call, a bit problematic, because he has this ADHD. So we didn't have a really long relationship, but he's a nice guy, and we felt like we were not suitable. And then we break off, and then I told myself, I said, okay, now I just want to be alone, and no relationship, because I want to give myself a break, maybe start a new job, a career, maybe go for schooling, because here they will help you to educate yourself. So I met LG, and in a party, which is called a street party. Is for the people who stay around the summer house. And I was invited by Genevieve. So on the night, I met LG, and that's how the history goes. So guys, I hope you guys have an idea now how it is like. Um, I hope I didn't paint that picture like, oh, Sweden is so beautiful, so wonderful. Um, it's the best place to stay in the world. I'm sure it is the best place. I mean, if you really like nature, and you don't mind being cold, and you have to give yourself at least 7 years to, blend in, because it really need times. It's not like in Asia, hey, let's go for steamboat party, and you click on right away. No, here is like it takes time, because Swedish people, they are very a bit skeptical about Asian. Now I'm going to answer your question. Asian people in Sweden, right? I think I have a few Asian friends that I used to associate with. I noticed that they like to keep to their among their Asian friend, and I don't see only one couple that I've seen that they have Asian or Swedish people or Swedish friend that they are very tight with. Um, how the Swedish people think about Asian people? I think Swedish people, they don't really know. Uh, like there is a difference between Thai, Philippine, Singapore, Indonesia. As long as they're Asian, they think that every Asian are from Thailand. So they always like, are you from Thailand? So that is a bit different, because it's not that they are not judgmental. They are like shallow. It's just that they haven't, a lot of them, they don't really travel a lot. So they cannot differentiate like Thai, Japanese, Korea. They don't see, as long as they're Asian, they are from Thailand. Um, and I felt like this, all right, there are Swedish people that can be racist. Uh, Not all. We have a political group that are anti, how do you call that? They are not racist. They are like, they are very aware of how this bringing in all these Asian people or people from other country can bring some problems, which is really true because if they are not integrated, if they don't really understand how things works, and if the Swedish government are not doing enough of the integration, then they don't understand how things work. It's only people who are here for more than like 10 years, then they start to understand. Then only, they find it's easier to live here. Do I find, let me just give you an example, okay? When I go on the street, um, okay, let's put it this way. Like yesterday, we put up, we wanted to sell a bed on Facebook, and I told LG, this is my bed, but I rather you advertise for me, because I find that some Swedish people, when they see an Asian people advertise a bed to sell in the Facebook, they say, don't know what kind of illness or don't know what kind of disease there, or maybe the bed can be in a bad shape. So I felt like that because when I advertise for things to sell, my response was like very low, and people start to ask a lot of very strange questions. But if you ask a Swedish people to advertise, they say, okay, buy, I'm buying it, I pay you in advance, and then I'll collect it later. um, I'm not saying that they are racist, but I can say that some of them, they are not used to, they don't have this education, or they don't have this knowledge of being, and they don't see the difference between different Asian or different culture people, and they are scared to approach that culture, and they are a little bit careful, and I cannot blame them, because for us also, if we deal with other countries, for me, I felt like uh, being an B&B owner, I welcome people with all kinds of background to come stay with us. But I also have to be careful, because certain countries or certain behavior in certain country can be very, very troublesome, because they have a culture that they live the way that is messy, that is dirty. It is okay for them, because that is okay, that is fine. But being an Airbnb owner, you want to make sure that the place is well kept, and they take care of our staff, which is really important, because otherwise the property will be damaged, and then who's going to pay for the loss, right? So for me, I welcome people, but I'm very careful too, because we have a lot of bad experience with some people from some country. So we are really selective. I hope I give you guys an idea, and I have answered all your questions. Did I? Did I answer all your questions? Let me see if I can agree. Mm. What it's like to be like an Asian in Sweden? I think I have already answered that question, right? So if you guys have any questions, or and I am welcoming you to send them in the comment here, so that I could reply them. Um, I also do some posting on my daily, like, stories, pictures. So go and check it out also. Um, if you guys like to know certain kind of video that I make more, just also let me know. You probably wonder, where is this place? Like, how come it's so different? If you've been following me, this is the gig that we are trying to put up, or I'm trying to like make this place alive. This is like four corners with nothing. I'm just going to give you guys a really quick look. So this is the bed. We only have one bed. It was just one bed from the beginning. So today me and LG, we buy another bed. So now it's two bed. And then this is the painting that I painted. I thought this was really sweet. You know, for me, being Asian, what I really like about Swedish people, the way of living is like they are very simple. And let me just flip the camera so you can see closer. So this is a. I don't know whether you can see the house from here. Yeah, you can from here. Sometimes it's very bright, you can't see. So LG stay in this house and I stay in this house. But now that we have two beds, maybe he will stay here too. So this is the parking. So sometimes when there are cars coming, you can hear them coming. There is no water in this house yet. So right now I use this container and use this basin to collect all the dirty water and then throw them outside. We do have electricity, but our electricity is very limited. It's this plug only. So I connect them to a main plug, which is over there. You see the white one. So that's how we have electricity, but very simple connection that you can have. See, you have electricity. So sometimes you have to live a hard way to appreciate the new modern technology. So this is just a small gig, which is about 25 square meter. This is where I will do my painting and meditation and just to relax and keep out of LG way because we do enjoy, our own me time too. So this is my me time uh, house. And then I found all this old stuff from LG's place. I thought, why not put all these um, family items in this house so that the next generation can enjoy them. So I don't know how long I will be living alive, but I think it was really nice to, just find a place where I could just relax. So here I have a curtain. This is supposed to be a bathroom, but we haven't installed the toilet yet. So this is just a simple room where we have stuff. Maybe we'll keep some clothes there for drying because it has been raining these few days and we have no place to put. Right now it's really good weather, but today, this morning, it has been blowing so much. It's not so fun to be outside when it's cold. And you wonder what is these two things, right? These are actually my DIY glass house where I use just plastic. So this triangle thing is actually LG's boat. He used this to cover his boat. So he want to throw away. So I said, no, 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 don't throw away. Give me that and then I'll find some plastic and I'll just cover them, staple them. And this one is also the same. So right now, these two, I'm planting herbs and pak choy. So if you want to know more, make sure you follow my story or follow my video. Okay, guys, I have to go now. We are planning to go fishing, and I have made the square box there. It's actually the worms farm. I try to cultivate some worms because LG always get a lot of mosquito bite when I say, hey, let's go and pick worms. And then he have to stand in these sandy places and try to dig for half an hour. He only get like 4 worms. So yesterday when I was clearing that bed, I found a lot of worms. So I learned how to make a bed so that I could grow more worms. So I made a video about that. I'm going to publish them maybe on Tuesday. So make sure you stay tuned, okay? So by the time, I'll see you and take care. Enjoy your weekend. Otherwise, have a great week ahead. I'll see you in my next. Bye bye.